Morning, or actually good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. It's very hot, very steamy. We just had a lot of rain, and I think the reason it's so steamy or so humid right now is, well, part of the reason is because of all the moisture evaporating from the ground because of the heat. Woo! So before I get into today's project, I just want to show you, I've been fighting this war with the deer that and again, I believe it's the young deer because they're not as fearful. They're want to explore more and check things out. So they got back into the veg garden despite my best efforts, and I'm not sure how yet. And the trail cam that I put caught nothing. So I put a trail cam out, that caught nothing. I'll try again tonight because I'm sure they'll be back, but I'm not gonna have any pumpkins this year. Let me go show you that. So here are my pumpkins. As you can see, the deer pretty much have wiped them out. Here's the other group of pumpkins. And now being the end of August, or towards the end of August, I'm gonna say it's definitely too late to be planting any new pumpkins. So if anything, maybe what I'll do with this bed is take some sunflower, because they go pretty quick, and I'll plant this up with sunflower. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna have an in-ground bed next year. It's just, yeah. And it's a pain too with the weeding, because you can see how the grass just starts crawling into the beds. And then I got to go through the beds and I got to pull this out and I got to rip all, it's a pain. So I think maybe next year this bed won't exist. Now my watermelon, we're looking pretty good, but if you can notice along the vine, they were nibbling on the vine. Now they didn't wipe out the watermelon vine, but they were definitely nibbling. The decimated stalks of my wife's sunflowers. This is pretty sad. On the upside, I have planted in the ground already a bunch of new sunflower seeds. So hopefully they'll come out. That's so sad. That's so sad. But hopefully they'll be coming up and we can enjoy them before the frost. Take two. I just talked for about 5 minutes and I forgot to press the record button again. Yeah, so as you can see, the deer turned around and did quite a number on the garden. Now, one of the things I may try either later this year or I'll do it next year, we'll see how things go, is I'll get some 6 or 7 foot bamboo canes, because the fence is only about 4 foot high, which obviously the deer can jump over. But I'll get these taller bamboo canes, and along the tops of them, I'll tie up flags, like party flags. Now, I didn't come up with this idea by myself. I got this idea actually from another YouTube channel, Cog Hill Farm. I believe that's what they're called, Cog Hill Farm. There are a couple that do like homesteading, and they just moved to a new piece of property, blah, 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 blah. But on his old property, around his garden, to keep the deer out, because I think he also had only like a 4 foot fence or so, he did a couple of rows of the, they call them prayer flags. They're essentially the same thing as like the party pennants kind of thing. They're just little triangular things on a line. But those being at, again, 5 and maybe 6 foot high was enough to deter the deer to say, no, I don't want to deal with them because they're moving, and deer don't have great depth perception. So if they're not sure, they won't try to jump over, through, or around it. So I may wind up doing that around the perimeter of the veg garden. And again, that's if they've been jumping over the fence. I'm not sure, I don't think that the pole that I put in the back to try to keep the young deer out is about that high off the ground. So it's about roughly 2 foot. So maybe the young deer are crawling underneath that. Again, they seem pretty fearless. I've seen them approach my vehicle. I've seen them, just do other things that the adult deers won't do. I don't know, that might be a thing. And you can get those flags, whether the party flags or like the prayer flags. You can get those all on Amazon for relatively inexpensive. So that may be what I wind up doing in the future to, again, deter the deer. So all of that being said, let's hope that the melons survive the rest of the year. And again, I'll probably plant more sunflower seeds out because they grow relatively quickly, and hopefully I can get some nice flowers before the frosts come in November. Again, we're still in August, so anyways, one of the things I want to do today is I want to pot up a couple of plants that are in certain size pots now, and I want to put them into bigger pots. And we've all seen this before. One of the things that I'm going to do, that this is a lavender. It's called Platinum Blonde Lavender. I've had this for a couple of years in this pot. I think it still might be okay in this pot, but it's getting a little woody and a little icky, so I think I'm going to turn around and I'm going to experiment. Because I kind of did this when I was living in New York. And what I did was I gave it a good hard trim. Don't trim into the wood, they say. Okay. But, and I'm not going to trim that branch. But I am going to trim some of these branches. This is an experiment. If this doesn't work, if the plant dies, so be it. But a lot of these branches are looking pretty worn, pretty tired. So I'm going to be pretty harsh on this guy. And I'm going to trim him up pretty good. And what I'm hoping will happen is that in the next few, you know what, I'm going to take him back. Lavender. Actually, he doesn't even smell that much. I think that's how old and crusty he is. But if he doesn't, all right, you know, I'm going to leave it like that. Let's leave it like that, and let's see what happens over the course of the rest of the year and then the winter. I'll show you a close up here in a second. So I went pretty harsh on this guy. As I took away like half of it over here and quite a bit of the middle here. So I just left these outer branches, and there's a lot of dead leaves on here, but there's a lot of good leaves. And this is what lavender does. It grows so large, you know, and all the new growth is on the newer stuff. That's why if you get a lavender plant, you always want it to look perfect. And they say to trim it all the young growth and then just let it keep growing from the young growth. Don't trim into the wood. Well, again, I've kind of done this before where I've been harsh on the plant and I've trimmed it back to the old wood. Well, then what will happen is new buds will come out and you'll get a lot of new fresh growth. At least it's happened to me in the past. Let's see if it happens with this plant. So stay tuned. Subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already to be notified when I do post up a new video. And yeah, we'll see what happens to this plant in the upcoming weeks and months. Now, one of the plants that I'm going to up pot this today is this rosemary. And I bought this rosemary last year as a little itty bitty thing. It's been growing in this pot for like over a year now. It keeps running roots out of the bottom because it wants to turn around and find more nutrients, more soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a much bigger pot because I don't know where I want to put it yet. This is one of the reasons I'm going to up pot it. I did put one of the rosemaries that I had 3 of them, into the herb garden bed that I have, and that one's doing very well. I put the other one in the flower garden. That one's doing pretty well. I'm not sure where I want to put this one. So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put it up pot it, and we'll do that real quick now. Ooh, a nice big pot here. I'm going to put some broken pot fragments on the bottom to help keep the hole free. Otherwise it gets here. So this is what happens. All the roots try to come out and this bottom hole sort of gets clogged with the roots and then the pot doesn't drain. So I'm just going to take some broken pot fragments. I'm going to put them on the bottom here. There you go, that should be fine. Now off camera here, I have a big bag of Daddy Pete's potting mix. So I'm just going to take that, fill the pot, and then I'll show you the next thing that I'm doing. Okay, so I filled the bottom with a few inches. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this smaller pot inside the bigger pot, fill it around it, and then I can lift the pot out, pull the rosemary out from inside the pot, and pop it in the hole that was left by this pot. Pretty cool, huh? I keep seeing other gardeners do this. I've seen Monty Don do it, and I've seen a few other gardeners do it. I just don't do it on a regular basis, and I probably should because it makes up potting so much easier. Now I'll turn around and just trim the roots off the bottom here. This should allow me to get the rosemary here out of the pot easier. Oh yeah. Yeah, take a look at that. So that's what the plant was doing, sending all of its roots to the bottom. And yeah, it's pretty matted. So I'm actually gonna break a lot of that up. Tease a lot of those roots out. Pop it into the hole that we just made. Tuck in that soil. We'll add a little more. And there we go. The rosemary's potted up into a bigger pot, so it should be fine until, who knows, even next year if I find a new home for it. If anything, it should start thriving a little bit more too, because now it's not going to be suffering in that small pot. Let me get on to the other thing I want to show you I'm potting up. One of the other plants that I have that it's been sitting on the bench forever, and you can see it's small and wispy here, is this red swamp milkweed. And I was going to plant it out into the crater area, but there's two problems. One, the deer like milkweed, and two, the wife is thinking about redoing it or overhauling it with a different planting style or different plants themselves for next spring. So I'm going to hold off putting that there for now. What I will do though is, since it's a good viable plant, I'm just going to put it in a bigger pot with fresh soil. So again, it gets more nutrients. And if anything, it will die back in, I'll put it in the greenhouse for the winter. And if I don't plant it out before then, and if anything, it'll die back, but then it'll come fresh in the springtime. So let me put this in the pot. Okay. Pop out the pot. Yeah. And again, you can see it's got these big, beautiful roots, but they're all in the bottom of the container. So I'm not going to break these roots. I am going to tease them a bit, loosen them up. Pop that in the pot. There we go. And now this milkweed should be good until next year. Again, because of the frosts and all, and it's in a pot, if were this in the ground, I would probably just mulch over it for the winter and it would be fine. But since it's not going to be in the ground probably this year, I'll stick it in the greenhouse and it should be fine with the frosts. But while I was doing all of that, I was noticing that I have this thing of rosemary. This is multiple plants in this one pot. So what I'll do real quick, it smells nice. You ever smell rosemary? It smells nice. So I'm just gonna grab a few pots on here on the side. Okay, so again, a little bit of change of plants. I have these nice proven winter pots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you know what, it's not even sunny out. We're going to take the hat off because I am just pouring sweat here. Sorry, too much information. And I'm going to use these proven winter pots. Now it appears I only have 5 of them. Correction, 6, 7. You know what, 6 is an even number. So I have these 6 proven winter pots. And these are nice, they're nice hardy plastic. They're nice strong plastic. So I can reuse them over and over and over and over again. And from this one pot, I'm going to try to tease out at least 6 good rosemary plants. I'll put them in these bigger pots. They all won't have to share. Because what I did was, when I made this up, I just put a bunch of rosemary seed into one pot. And as you can see, there's a lot of rosemary here. So again, we're just going to tease this apart. A lot of roots here. And what I'm looking for is, be careful with the roots. So like this right here, this is a pretty good plant. So I'll turn around and make a mess. I'll make a mess is what I'll do. I will put this one plant into the pot and cover them back up with soil. There we go. One rosemary plant planted up into soil all by itself. Doesn't have to share with any of its friends. This will probably go in the green. Oh, I know this will go. It can stay out here on the bench for now, but when the winter time comes, I'll probably put it in the greenhouse, and hopefully it survives till the springtime. And then come the springtime, I can either plant it into the veg garden someplace, or I can plant it out into the flower garden. I can give it away to friends. I have options. I've got a cluster right here of some very nice ones. Again, just being gentle. Okay, so here's one. I don't know if you could see that. Let me move over here. So it's got, I may not use this one. Though it has a root, it's smaller and weaker in comparison to this one. So this one is larger and has more roots. Okay. All right, and there's the next one. 4 more to go. These good roots. Is that 2 plants? No, that's just 1. Okay. To the side. Like this one. I like this one. Now I could pot up these other ones, but I'm not. They'll get added to the compost pile and they'll be food for another plant, along with these lavender clippings. Well, all right, there you go. I up-potted, or I trimmed up first, lavender as an experiment to see what will grow back and how that new growth will affect the plant or affect the growing of the plant. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, because there will be future updates on the lavender. And if I do, let's say in a month or 2 months or 3 months, I haven't done a video on the lavender or spoken about the lavender in any of my videos, please leave a comment below. Let me know that, hey, what's happening with that lavender, or anything else you actually want to see growing here in the garden. Do you have a question about anything that I'm planting or anything that I'm doing? So I always appreciate the comments. Keep them coming, keep them coming. The other thing I up-potted was a red swamp milkweed. Again, it's a tiny little spindling thing. I don't think it's going to do anything really this year. I will keep it in its pot. I will love it. I will care for it. It'll grow in the greenhouse during the wintertime, and then hopefully next year it'll be planted out someplace in the garden. The other thing I up-potted today was, what was the other thing I did? I know I up-potted something big. Yes, I did that other rosemary, which now is sitting in front of the greenhouse, which is why I'm sort of pointing that way. But that rosemary was in a small pot, or smaller pot. It had been there for about a year, and it needed just more space to grow and more nutrients, I'm sure, because the roots wind up absorbing all the nutrients that are in the soil, and then eventually the soil is just dirt. It's nothing. There's nothing there. So it's always good to either refresh or fertilize or replenish that soil. In extreme cases, and I've seen Lauron Garden Answer do this and a couple of others, you can take a larger plant with a much more established root system, take it out of its pot. This is an extreme thing to do, but I have seen other gardeners do it. Take it out of its pot, empty out the pot, rinse all the soil out from in between the roots, trim back the roots, and put that plant now back into a new pot with all brand new fresh soil. I've seen other gardeners do it. It's a pretty extreme thing. I don't think I've ever done anything like that before. But if you have, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, the last thing I did was separate from that one little pot all these rosemaries. And there were, again, probably about 4 more I could have potted up, but I already now have 6 rosemary plants. So, and again, with a little TLC and overwintering in the greenhouse, I'm pretty sure they'll be fine come the spring, at which point they'll be bigger plants, they'll be stronger plants, and I can plant them out into the landscape someplace, or again, give them away to friends and family. I think, yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna stop babbling. I'm sure most of you have already tuned out. If you haven't checked me out on Instagram, check me out on Instagram. Check out all the links below. I have a website, growinggreenfinger.com. Check that out. I actually have been making some new merch, which I spoke about in the last couple of videos. So I have some new t-shirts for sale, hoodies because winter's coming, variety of colors. I'm working on a couple of new mug designs. So again, keep checking that out. You can check out my merch store if you go to my website, growinggreenfinger.com, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom where there's a shop button. Click on that and it'll take you to the store. I try to keep the prices as low as possible, but again, if you have any questions, comments, etc., leave a comment below, or you can email me at jason@growinggreenfinger.com. That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.